Hello and welcome to this installment of Talking Trim. I'm Jonathon Skinner and today we're looking at the main cabin cockpit panels for the Jaguar S Type and Jaguar 420 models. So this mainly constitutes all the kind of side panels and a couple of the rear and front area panels that comprise the cabin area of the Jaguar S Type and Jaguar 420s. So just a very brief overview, you've got kind of the dash area, so you've got the underdash letter parcel tray, you've got the glove box, the footwell kick panels, the front and rear door panels, the BC post panels, the rear cover panels, rear parcel shelf, furflex, etc. That's pretty much it actually. A couple of items on there I haven't included, but that's the main overview. So it doesn't include things such as the carpet sets, the felts, the headliner, centre console, seats, or any of the boot trunk area, but pretty much everything else upholstery wise for the main cabin area is included here. Now all of these bits are pretty much included in our trim kit as standard, apart from a couple of items, mainly the moulded rear pocket armrests and the front door armrests, and also the tacking strip for the furflex. They're all optional extras, so we do supply them at different sort of levels of trimming, either untrimmed for you to do at your end or fully trimmed if you want to just get them into your car fairly easily, but they're all outside the scope of the standard trim kit, so just bear that in mind. Our trim kit is cheaper to buy as a trim kit, and it does include all the other items I mentioned, so the carpets, the felts, headliner, centre console, seat covers front and rears, and the boot trunk kit. But we can also supply all of these parts individually. Now when we say individually, we normally sell them in car sets. So for example, the A-Post Footwell Kick Panels are sold as a pair. The door panels are actually sold as a set of 4 front and rears, including the materials for the armrest, etc. So we can sell those individually, but it does work out cheaper to buy it as part of the trim kit. Anyway, all that said, let's dive on in. So I'm just going to weave my way to the front of the car. This kit has been done to OEM spec, so majority of these parts are vinyl, which was correct for the interior main trim panels for the S Type and the 420. There are a couple of exceptions to that. The colour of this is what we call Ferrari beige. It's not an original colour for Jaguar, but it's very close to what they referred to as biscuit, or a biscuit-like tan as we call it. It's probably a bit more golden, the Ferrari beige colour, and as the name suggests, it was using Ferraris, not Jaguars. So it's not an original colour, but of course we do offer all the original Jaguar colours. So worth checking out the description below, as well as there'll be some other information on these parts I'm talking about here, anything I might have overlooked, as well as useful links to other videos. I try to do individual videos for all these parts as well, going into a bit more detail. And there's also some useful links to our websites showing you how to inquire about getting these parts or a trim kit, as well as useful links to our blog and handbook area, where there's lots of nice articles on there worth reading. Gives a nice background to the way we do business. We've formed a reputation over the course of almost 50 years now for making the best kits in the world, and some of these blog posts on our handbook area do really go into the details of that, so be sure to check that out. Anyway, let's dive on in. So front of the car, effectively you've got your glove box elements here. The glove boxes on the S Types, they were handed, so this is actually a left-hand drive one here, and the right-hand drive still in the bag over there. They're always grey flocked, they're millboard, they're pre-creased, riveted, ready to fit into the car there. They have the cutaway there for the interior light, and what we also do is a cover plate, so you can put that in if you're not installing the interior light back into the car there, but that's what those are there, and they are sold, like I say, kind of individually, or they are part of the trim kit. Then at the very front of the car, you've got the underdash letter tray. So just to refer to a book here, we're talking about this section here, and it's a sort of thin carpet, it's moquette, very high quality wool based carpet with a short pile and no backing on it. So we would supply pre-cut materials to retrim that area there, and we also supply material to retrim the crash roll sections of those there. Bit of a subject of debate about colours. Some of the cars certainly left the factory with black, other ones as the same colour as the car, or carpet in this case. So just let us know at the time of ordering. Same again for the sort of crash roll sections here. You can see here that they were black. So we can supply those in black or a matching colour, completely up to you. We've come across a couple of customers who have said their original ones are leather, so if that's the case, do let us know. We can use leather, and of course we can use our in-house leather skiving machine to thin that leather down to make it more applicable to trimming to those parts there, so just let us know. Then we'll move on to the A-Post Footwell Kick Panels. So these are on the vertical, just in front of the door panels there. They're the side panel kick panels. Get a pair of those, and they are millboard, cut on our in-house CNC machine. They're trimmed all the way around, apart from on the leading edge there, and that effectively tucks round underneath the adjacent front floor firewall toe board carpet section there to create a nice seamless finish. You can see as well, obviously, it follows the curvature of the door very nicely there. We also leave the tail on there because, again, that allows you to get a nice neat fitment during the trimming process, and you can either fold it back or cut the excess off, so you get a pair of those as well. Moving on to the door panels. So the way I'm going to do these door panels is, although they're sold as a set of 4, so you get a pair of front door panels, a pair of rear door panels, and the associated materials for the sort of armrests and pockets, I'm going to just do the front doors first and then the rear doors, just because of the way it's laid out here. So front door panels are supplied fully trimmed up. They're on hardboard, 2.55mm, as per all of our parts here, cut on our in-house CNC machine. They have all of the pilot holes on them, so you can see the perimeter has the trim clip fixing clips, as per these here. So they slot in. Now bear in mind as well with those trim clips, they're not necessarily always symmetrical. People assume in the symmetrical world we live in these days that everything would be the same one. Now you might have one like that, you might have one like that, one like that, one like that, etc. So just bear that in mind, because it does play a big factor in how the panels fit to your door. So all of the pilot holes for the fixings around there. There are actually some under here as well. What we do is we deliberately trim over that front edge a lot more, because there's a slight overhang when you come to fit them in the car, and thus that overhang is a nice trim colour. So we do that intentionally. Same again on that top edge there. We leave a flap on there because it actually tucks under the door top cappings. Door top cappings on the majority of the S types and 420s were material. I'll come to those material sections in a second. And then obviously you have the pilot holes there for the door release and the window winder, as well as the armrest there, which again I'll come to in a second. To look at the front, obviously, sorry, to look at the back of it here, you've got the pocket and the retainer element there, and it's all elasticated, pre-trimmed on. So let's have a look at these elements here. So that's the elasticated map pocket there. Now the S Type 420s had this HF RF embossed pattern on the door panels there. It's 4 lines repeated, as you can see there and there. And then it also had one at the very top here, and then underneath there you had a, probably easier to see on this one, D-shaped rubber. We are, I believe, the only company in the world that does that top line. There's other companies that replicate this, but no one goes into the detail we do there with that top line. So just, yes, another reason of our attention to detail. Just to show you in the book here, there we are. So you've got obviously the pocket flap there. It has the recess there for the latch as well. Embossed weld lines there. Then you can't really see that top weld line, but there is one there originally. And then that's obviously the capping there. So that's why we do that excess material there, so that the capping sits. That goes directly underneath the capping and creates a nice seamless finish there. For those door top cappings, sold separately, we do supply the door top retrim kits, which are material and foam to recover that capping there. So they are sold separately through the door, so just bear that in mind. Yep, and then you get the materials as well for the door armrests. Door armrests on these cars were the torpedo shape. They're identical actually to the Series 1 2+2 E-types, but not to be confused with the later Mark 10 and 420G, which were the same shape, but quite a bit bigger. Just bear that in mind. So, as standard, we supply material to retrim your original units. As an optional extra, we can supply new molded units like this, along with the fixing screws, untrimmed or trimmed. So you've got kind of a 2-tier optional extra thing there, and obviously we trim these in the Ferrari beige, but as standard we supply enough material to recover your original ones there. So that is the front doors. Moving on to the rear doors, exactly the same sort of concept. You have the hardboard panels with all of the pilot holes for the fixings, window winders, door releases, etc. You also have all the little pilot holes for attaching the large armrest pocket that was featured on these cars here. We also supply fixings for putting all of these elements into place on the car there, screws and washers. So that's part of the trim kit as well, all sold separately. And again, the door panels have the embossed pattern on them. Again, top weld line with the rubber underneath it and the flap, and then the door top capping retrim kit sold separately. So they're the rear door elements there. Now we also supply, as part of that rear door, well, as part of the door panel kit set before, we also supply sewn covers for retrimming your original armrests, as well as some loose materials which are also used in there. Same principle again with the front door armrests. We can offer as an optional extra some untrimmed new molded plastic armrests, or we can offer them fully trimmed up. I have done a video showing some of those fully trimmed up options there, so just bear that in mind. Just to show you in a book, sorry, that's why I moved away. We're talking about this armrest here. So basically that was the right hand one there. It kind of went like that, had a padded section on top there, and then that was the actual pocket there. So like I say, as standard in our kits, we supply the material to recover your originals. If your originals are missing or knackered, we can supply either untrimmed ones and you can do the work at your end, or we can supply some fully trimmed ones ready to fit onto the doors and into the car. So that is that. Right, then moving slightly backward, we've got the BC post panels, or lower BC post panels as we refer to them. So these sit in between the front and rear doors. You can just about make it out in this picture here. It's that bit there. So not the, obviously the wood part that goes at the top with the windows. This is below that. It's millboard material, trimmed all the way around apart from the flap at the top. Again, same concept as on the doors. It tucks underneath the wood section at the top there. And then you have the fixing holes going down the middle. You have this little cutaway here which is trimmed over, which I believe is for the seat belt element here. And then same concept as on the footwell panels, we do little tails on these sections here to tuck under and fold back accordingly to get the neatest finish. Obviously they kind of intertwined with the sill carpets, so that's why that's done. A lot of the things that we trim a certain way, we do it by design with intention. We know how these things go into the car, and therefore we know that the best way of kind of doing them is to allow a bit of flexibility during the trimming process to allow for the best fitment. So that's the BC post panel, sold as a pair or supplied as standard in our trim kit. Then we'll go on to the cover panels. So you've got the, we refer to them as the D post upper cover panels and lower cover panels. They are sold individually, so lower cover panels as a pair, upper cover panels as a pair, but not as a set as four. Now the lower cover panels, seahorses, you can see kind of where they go there. It's going to be quite hard to show you. So I've actually got this book here, which is in theory the Mark II book, but the concept is the same. The shape's the same, but the actual size of them is different. They kind of sit just behind there. You can see the shape of the bodywork there. So it's the other side of where that is there. That's where those sit there. They're kind of out the way when everything's said and done, but they are crucial to a retrim. Then you have the upper cover panels. Now the upper cover panels are actually always in leather on the S-Types and the 420 models. And the reason for that is they sit directly next to the rear seat, top of the backrest there. You can see it there. And on this Jag, I think there's a good, yeah, there's a nice image there showing one there as well. But yeah, you can just about make it out there. So they are leather, trimmed all the way around. They have a bit of a raised section there as well. So those are supplied fully trimmed up like that, again supplied as standard in our trim kit. Then let me just reposition, sorry I've got stuff everywhere, I'm trying not to stand it on. Last couple of items, or last few items, you got the lower bulkhead cover. So that sits directly underneath the rear seats. So it's material to retrim to the bodywork of the car. It's vinyl, it's got a nice top stitching seam to it. And it sits, you can't really see it, but it kind of sits, well that's the corner of it there, it sits all the way around that circumference of the rear seat there. Then you have the rear parcel shelf. Now, unfortunately you can't get any pictures in a book of the rear parcel shelf, but it sits above the rear seat. So it's effectively up this section here. It's a hardboard panel. It's got, we've taped over the fixings there, but the fixings are pre-inserted into it. Done some pilot holes there. It's trimmed all the way around apart from on these corner bits here, and they flap down like that basically. So it sits directly underneath the rear window, and those flap down onto basically where the rear seat then lays on top of. Got some photos in our archive that show that quite nicely, just in case you're curious, but that's those bits there. Then finally, I believe finally, we got the Furflex kit. So the actual Furflex kit, or door wind lacing kit, whatever you want to refer to it, it's enough to go round all four doors, so the front doors and the rear doors. It's a kind of moquette based product, so it's akin to the underdash material there. It's got the tail on, it's what they call tack on Furflex. It goes around the doors. I just refer to it in a book. I'll show you the Mark II book, so Furflex is exactly the same. Yeah, there we are. So you can see the wind lacing kind of going around there, stops there, then starts again, goes up the B-posts, and then yeah, you can just about make it out there, down the B-post, stops again, starts again, and up the top there. So it goes around all the doors. So we supply that as a kit. Lots of colours available. Normally you try and tie it in with obviously the main trim / the carpets, as is the wool-based product. You've got the rubber tubing inside, as you can see there, and a flange on it. So that's supplied as standard in our trim kit, or we do sell it separately as a kit, just over 12 metres. Then you also have the tacking kit. Now the tacking kit is sold separately. It's an optional extra, it's not part of the trim kit, so just bear that in mind. It's normally, I believe the cars had a sort of wooden tacking on there, but normally on these cars these days they're all rotted out. So this is a plastic composite kit that you can use to replace that there. So you just glue it onto the car, and then that can be used to tack around the Furflex element there. So that is, like I say, an optional extra, whereas that is sold as standard in our trim kit. Right, I think I've covered it. Try to keep that as brief as possible. Hope you found it informative and useful. Please do ask any relevant questions below in the comments field. And of course, be sure to check out the description below, as I mentioned. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.